Some civil society groups and other stakeholders have urged President Muhammadu Buhari to remove names of individuals who have political affiliation from the list of nominated resident electoral commissioners, RECs, sent to the National Assembly for confirmation and appointment. Some of the names have been said to be card-carrying members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, and have also been nominated for appointment into the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, ahead of 2023 general election. According to the chairman of the Transition Monitoring Group, Awal Musarraf Sanjani, Buhari's nomination of partisan individuals as electoral commissioners contravenes the Electoral Act. Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform, Ezenwa Nwagwu, joins us now to discuss the accusation against President Buhari that he nominated partisans as electoral commissioners and how that could lead to lack of confidence in INEC's ability to provide a level playing field to all political parties during the 2023 general election. Welcome to Newsday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so very much for having me.
So let me start with your opinion on this accusation by civil society organizations that the president has appointed individuals that are partisan into INEC.
Well, I think we just concerned and worried about the possible reversal of some of the gains that we have made in our electoral process, especially with the now obvious attempt to see how to, hijack, if you permit the use of that word, the Independent National Electoral Commission. Evidently, we didn't just start this journey now. That attempt was made when Mrs. Loretta Onochie was also nominated, and almost the media, civil society, self-respecting Nigerians felt that that should not be allowed to pass. I didn't think, my sense is that they've not relented. Now, about 5, if not more, of the nominees have clearly partisan inclinations, tainted pasts, and corrupt disposition. And these are not just things that we cooked up. For the man from Sokoto State, the Lawal person, he contested, he aspired under the APC in 2014, as recently as 2014. And we have, clear pointers to the fact that those nominees that we mentioned in our statement are clearly people that are running foul of the dictates of the Constitution. The INEC is a law institution, is created by the law. It is run by the law. It does not contemplate in any way that people who have this kind of disposition should be allowed to be in that organization. And that is why the Constitution is clear about that. Such people who will be appointed into the commission should be people of integrity, people who have character, and people who don't have any reason for which citizens can doubt that they will not be able to discharge the very important responsibility of midwifing our leadership recruitment process.
All right, thank you for that. And now that the situation as it is, the nominees that are partisan have been identified, how do you go about removing those names from the list and making sure that no other partisan nominees get onto any future lists? How is that check? How can you make sure that that safeguard is in place?
Well, I think one of the first things is to ensure that it is not outsourced to civil society organizations and media. Citizen groups, traditional and moral institutions need to understand why it is important that we safeguard that institution called INEC. We will expect that the National Assembly will do its, especially the Committee on Electoral Matters, will do the due diligence of ensuring that these nominees do not pass the screening. And then they can be returned so that the president will then have opportunity. Whatever it is that happened in the course of the nomination, we know that there is supposed to be some vetting by certain institutions of the state, though those ones can be overridden. But what is clear is that we expect that the National Assembly that has the responsibility of ensuring that they clear these people do the, that due diligence that is required in the interest of Nigerian people, in the interest of the sanctity of the electoral process, and to protect and ensure that we consolidate our democracy. It's very important because perception is everything. And if we allow this to pass, then even those who win these elections will have clear legitimacy questions about whether they truly deserved to be elected.
All right, Mr. Nwagwu, talk to us, because some are claiming that this will actually compromise the integrity of INEC. But in the case of Loreto Onoche, like you mentioned, we saw that President Muhammadu Buhari and the presidency were pushing hard to see that nomination pushed through. Why are they defiant on this, knowing the consequences down the road?
Well, we know that politicians really, understanding that election is a competitive enterprise, are always looking for dubious advantage. And it's the responsibility of citizens and organizations, civic groups, to ensure that the investment that we have made in this democracy. Unfortunately, many of the people who today preside over this enterprise were themselves not critical stakeholders in the consolidation of democracy. So we have a responsibility to make sure that they don't reverse the gains. Since 2007, after President Yaradua made that very important statement about the fact that the election that brought him to power was flawed, we've made incremental progress. We've moved, if you like, just progressively, step by step. And I'm sure that politicians are not happy about that. It came to a head after Osun, and I know there was a lot of anger in terms of the outcome of that election. And one of the ways to see whether that reversal can happen is to see whether they can hijack, they can ambush the institution that midwives that process. Most of the people within INEC may not be able to speak up, but it's our responsibility to speak up for them and ensure that, people like the ones we have mentioned and others we probably did not also dig up, their past, are not allowed to find their way into the system.
Now, in the event that President Buhari does not withdraw his nomination and the Senate does not reject, those nominated for appointment, what other options are available to the civil society organizations to press on their demands?
Well, I don't envisage that we will not win. I envisage that the power of the people is stronger than the power of government. I envisage that if we throw all that we can into lobbying, into talking to different people, into mobilizing the sectors that I talked about, not just civil society, I'm sure that it needs to be understood that this is not about anybody. This is not about, it's not a malicious engagement that we're involved in. We're trying to make sure that we have a level playing ground and everybody benefits from it, including those who think they can have any advantage. If it works well for everybody, first and foremost, when we have election, the people, we have confidence that they truly elected these people. There are many other options. We could go to court. I know that some lawyers have already said they will drag the president to court and all of that. But I think that the National Assembly will be responsible enough to do what is right.
Well, just to piggyback more on that question, in the event that the president does get dragged to court, because we do know that even the president of the Nigerian Bar, the former vice president, of the Nigerian Bar Association has threatened to do so. How disruptive would this be to the electoral process and to our democracy as a whole?
We're already, we needed to have these resident electoral commissioners appointed yesterday, since July, and we're entering into September, and we are very close to the 2023 elections. If this resident election, this screening doesn't happen as quickly as possible, and we clear those who, should be cleared, of course, it will deter on the ability of INEC to even sit together collectively as a commission If you have almost 19 resident electoral commissioners not on seat as we speak now, then it leaves a wide gap in terms of policy, in terms of the ability of the input and experience of these individuals, what they can bring into the electoral table. So it's important that we appreciate, and the relevant institutions that are duty bearers in this matter understand that it's a matter of urgency, it's a matter of national necessity. And we will keep pressing, we keep pushing, we keep mobilizing, we keep engaging, and to ensure that everyone understands how quickly this has to happen.
All right, Mr. Nwagwu, this is not the first time that we have seen partisan rec nominations, and this will not be the last. What can we do to mitigate against such in the future?
Really, what can we do? We are not the appointer. The duty constitutionally to appoint resident electoral commissioners is very clearly spelled out. And that is why we said it's a constitutionally determined matter. It has to do with the understanding, the critical understanding of the importance of having an INEC that can be seen to be truly independent by those who are appointing. The struggle to take off appointments from the president has hit the wall. You know, there are different committees that have come up with, the Waste Committee, the 2014 National Conference report, the Namani report. All of those things, people not wanting to give up the power to appoint. So except the appointer is clearly in the conversation about reforms, is in the conversation about how to strengthen these institutions to deliver more for the Nigerian people. There is not much we can do. We will continue to put it on the table. We will continue to ensure that the Constitution is respected. And once the Constitution is respected, it wouldn't matter who benefits or who doesn't benefit.
Now, the CSOs are also complaining that the appointments do not reflect the principles of non-discrimination and inclusivity with regards to persons with disability and also the 35% affirmative action. Now, knowing the rather slow pace of this administration when it comes to electoral matters, do you think that these issues can still be remedied, saying that we're just a few months to the elections?
Well, it can be remedied if we punish the lack of political will. And punishing it will be to continue to call out the individuals who have responsibility to ensure that our electoral process is inclusive and truly participatory. You cannot have 25 to 30 million Nigerians who live with disabilities excluded from, sitting on the table where this kind of sensitive decisions are taken. You can't exclude young people. You can't exclude women. It's clearly offensive to the sensibilities of self-respecting people that this continues to happen. But we can't take anything away from it. This president, in spite of all the challenges that it has made some real push in terms of changes within the electoral environment. And we'll continue to hope that he can be legacy-minded. He can begin to think in terms of what kind of legacy will I be leaving in the electoral environment outside of the ones that have already been achieved. And part of what that will be is to be recorded as one president who understood the need to be inclusive, to be participatory, and to ensure that, nobody is left behind.
Ezenwa Nwagwu, very important conversation we just had here. Thank you so much for joining us and for all of your insight that you shared with us.